Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. This is my second video that I'm making, and I am way older now from my last video. Y'all can go check that out on my page. And I'm just telling a story with while I'm doing my makeup. So one day I went to my cousin's house. Well, I didn't go to my cousin's house in Reg, but I did get in a full Reg. And a few days after that, or like a couple weeks after that, after my Reg, I think I went and stayed with my cousin. And I asked her, my mom, I'm like, well, my mama, we asked our mama, like, can we ride the four? And she's like, no, your mom told me not to let you because she said that you've been having flashbacks about you wrecking. I said, yes, I've been having flashbacks. She's like, okay, then I don't want you riding. And then we're like, okay. And then I'm like, okay. And then 5 minutes later, when they go and leave us home alone, they go and get breakfast. That was the next day. They go and get breakfast. And then they come back. We're not there. We took off on the 4. And when we got back, my mom and dad was there. And I'm like, oh, I know this. I'm about to get it. And then my mom and dad's like, are y'all okay? Are y'all okay? And everything. She thought that I panicked on my cousin and my cousin wrecked or something. But no, we was actually having pretty fun. We went muddying that day. And she's like, oh my god, thank god y'all are so safe. And her cousin got grounded. And I didn't, for some reason. I'm like, ground me. I'm the one that told us to take off. And then they're all like, hey, y'all both get grounded. She ain't allowed to come over for a while. So I agree and say, okay. And then she agrees and says, okay. And I'm like, one question for my dad. I'm like, okay, why can I not ride and stuff like that? I know I got hurt and stuff, but it doesn't give y'all a reason to keep me from having fun. Ain't that right? Then my dad says, yes, you're supposed to have fun and all that. You really want to remember your childhood? I'm like, yes, I really do want to remember my childhood. And then my mom and them next day got me a motorcycle. But that's not what I wrecked on. I wrecked on a mini Fuller. And thank God it was a ditch, not a freaking fence that I wrecked in. I have a scar, not the fence that I wrecked in on my motorcycle. I ran into a ditch. a little bit. And I'm like, Mom, come and get it off me. Then I run inside because I skinned my knee. I'm like, Mom, I skinned my knee. Am I okay? Do I gotta go to the doctor? Because I was freaking out because it was like a couple days after I got back from the doctors, from the hospital. And they're like, my dad's like, yeah, you're fine. You don't need to go to the hospital. You're fine. I'm like, okay, good. And he's like, well, we do need to go to the store. I'm like, for what? To get you some bandages and stuff. I'm like, okay, y'all can go. I'll stay here. He said, no, you can come with me where you can pick out what you want. I'm like, okay. So, I go get my shoes. And, well, not my shoes. I go get my Crocs. It's cold at this time, and I was wearing shorts because I didn't want to get my pants bloody. And I'm like, okay, they told me to go get pants, and I'm like, no. So I ran into the car and jumped in. And they came out, said it later, and I usually stay in the car. But they go in. I didn't. I walked over to the store beside of the store that my mom and dad was in. Hold on, I got stick up here. They got stuff and they came back to the car. I wasn't there. I started freaking out, and then I was outside when they came out. I'm like, I'm over here. I just got to get me a popsicle because I was craving popsicles then. And we went home, cleaned my knee, cleaned all that up. So I'm like, yeah. So am I grounded? Am I still grounded? Because that was like the second day of being at my cousin's. He's like, no, you're not grounded. I don't think you should be. Because you didn't do anything. I'm like, Dad, I went behind y'all's back and rode a four-wheeler without y'all knowing. Yes, I should be grounded. And he's like, no. No, you're not gonna get grounded. I'm like, okay. He gave me my computer and my laptop. Same thing. He gave me my computer and my phone back. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. I really wanted my phone back. Next day, they found out that... Here's my makeup. Next day, they found out that we really didn't go for a ride. We went to my boyfriend's house. Come back for part 2 of this. And here's my makeup. Come back for part 2. I'll be taking my makeup off.